the bases dropped on a beautiful Wednesday morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. SDH live for May 8th. It's Wall Pass Wednesday, so we take your questions on a Wednesday. You guys know that by now. It's a Match Day Wednesday, which we've had some midweek matches this week. This is the first in a little while, and you guys know how it goes. On a Match Day preview, we have Mike Conti join us from 92.9 The Game. We have Doug Roberson from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution join us. And I was a little worried that we wouldn't be able to get Doug today because I figured he might still be celebrating yesterday's amazing Liverpool win. But then he said he wanted to come on early, so I was completely confused. What's up, Doug?
How are y'all?
Doing well.
Questions for you, sir. Have you recovered?
Has your heart recovered from yesterday?
I don't listen to a lot of Sirius XM until Jason Davis comes on at noon because I like to listen to y'all, first off. And some of the other shows I have particular thoughts about. But I did listen this morning just so I could hear them talk about Liverpool and Barcelona, and it was just unbelievable. I was listening to the first half in my car, picking up my kids, and so they get the first goal on Origi, and then Wijnaldum comes in and scores the 2 goals, and that's when I got home. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and I'm working on some Justin Meram to Atlanta United stuff, and I see that the corner kick is upcoming, and I start to look down for a second, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see Alexander-Arnold run back to the ball. And I look up, and boom, winning goal. I'm like, holy moly. This is Istanbul all over again.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
kind of in a crazier way, too. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, just the irony. Now, did I read correctly that, okay, so Gigi Wijnaldum scores in the 54th and the 56th. Mm-hmm. And the last time there was like a miracle comeback, the goals were scored in the 54th and the 56th. I mean, numerologists were
Istanbul.
Going crazy.
Yeah, it was the same time for the goals. It was nuts. Before we get into Meram and the Atlanta stuff, I don't know if you saw it, Doug. It was a really cool little nugget that came out after the match. Klopp was talking about their analysis of the first game, and they noticed how after fouls, after a ball would go out for a Liverpool corner, that Barcelona switched off, and they were frustrated and maybe complaining to the referee. It depended, but they switched off. And it was instructed from the top all the way down to the ball kids to get the ball back in play as quick as possible. Like, it wasn't a designed play so much as it was just, we know they're going to switch off, look for your opportunity, and Liverpool took it.
Whoever spotted that needs to just get a lifetime contract.
Yes.
Because it's a small little thing, and you think, maybe this could be worth something. Mm-hmm. And you put it in your report, and you send it on down the line, and then you look up, and suddenly it propels you to the Champions League final. It's those little bitty details. And this is not equivalent, but kind of similar. I can remember Jeff Larentowicz last year talking about how much he enjoyed watching film with Tata when they were scouting opponents. And that second game, or the first game against Red Bulls at Mercedes-Benz, earlier that week, Tata had pointed out to them when they get a free kick near the midpoint, they're going to send a diagonal to the opposite side of the penalty box. Parker is going to, or not Parker, but Long is going to head it back toward the middle. So make sure we have someone there. And sure enough, that first game, that exact play happened. And I think Larentowicz was there to clean it up. And he talked about that later, that it's those little things, those little bitty details that sometimes can make a huge difference. It's why American football coaches drive me crazy, because they get into the weeds on those little details sometimes.
Yeah.
But it worked out well for Atlanta United in that game and for Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah, it's the little details where clubs really earn the big bucks. A little detail that I think caught a lot of people by surprise yesterday, Atlanta going out and adding Justin Meram before the trade window and transfer window closed. Meram had not really connected with Caleb Porter. He played very well for Iraq on international duty in March and just never could get his way back into the Columbus team consistently. And if the numbers, that have been reported, if that's how it goes, I mean, you're talking about a steal on a player who had double-digit goals 2 years ago and double-digit assists 3 years ago. Were you surprised when the move started breaking out?
Yeah, we were, we get to watch a few minutes of training every day. And as we were walking up to watch training, Carlos came out onto the field to talk with Frank. And that's unusual. Carlos will sometimes watch training from my memory, but I've never seen him come out onto the field to talk to Frank. This is before training had started. And so I'm immediately looking around to see if someone's getting held out of training or if someone isn't there. Because that means there could be a trade, Atlanta United sending someone, but everyone was there. And so I was like, well, the first question I'm going to ask Frank is, are they making a move for somebody else? And he had said, yeah, we're going to make a move for an attacking player. We all assumed it was going to be a pure striker based upon his comments about Joseph and Hector possibly being gone for the Copa America this summer. And then Ivis Galarcep was the first to report Miram. And I was a little curious about it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me just on the surface of it because he's not a striker. He is a winger, but he seems to like he's lost his wheels a little bit, which is not very good for a winger or wide midfielder. But then when you find out the details, that it's only $100,000 in allocation money and a second round draft pick, which draft picks are almost worthless 95% of the time now. You're like, God, that's just a brilliant piece of business. Because if Miram can come in and can fit into this system, which I think he can, because 3 years ago he was arguably one of the best players in MLS for a 3-year period, then it's a steal for Atlanta United, an absolute steal.
And to have that kind of a reinforcement with the schedule compression and all these games coming up right now, it's a great piece of business. When you talk to the guys with this addition heading into all of these games in all this short period of time, with the recent success the guys have had, what's been your takeaway about their mindset going into this short batch of this big batch of games in a short period of time that starts with Toronto tonight?
They're just spouting off all the cliches that it's one game at a time. You can only win the one that's ahead of you. But at the same time, they're also saying that it was extremely important that they played so well and got off to such a great start against Sporting Kansas City. So now, they really have a chance to make up all these games in hand with the maximum points. If they could beat Toronto tonight, and I think they will, and then they get Orlando, which, is struggling a little bit. And then I think, Vancouver? Or after that, I've lost track of the games. That should be another 3 points, even if it's at BC Place. They're tied for tops in the East, depending upon what Philadelphia does. So I think the team has got a lot of confidence, and confidence can make up so it can make such a difference to any team in any sport.
Yeah, I completely agree on the confidence thing. That was something that showed, I think, in the match on Sunday in Kansas City. Looking back, reflecting on that one, what were your big takeaways coming out of that and what that could mean for Atlanta tonight against Toronto?
Barco was brilliant, and we haven't had too many chances to say that, but he truly was. He seems like he's really coming into his own. It's great for him that he's going to play in a World Cup, but a shame for Atlanta United because they have not had a good history with players going on international duty and coming back healthy. But now it gives Pitti a chance to maybe step up and shine. And I thought he looked as comfortable as he has all season for Atlanta United against Kansas City. He agreed when we got to talk to him yesterday. He felt good. He feels like his fitness, he said, he's about 90%. He's getting used to the turf. He said the ball just moves differently on the turf compared to grass, but he's getting used to that. So I think you could see him have a decent stretch of games here coming up. I think he's on the verge of being impactful. Looking
at Toronto FC tonight, we've seen what the addition of a player of Alejandro Pozuelo's quality can make to a side like Toronto. In your looky-loos and peeks at Toronto FC, what else are you seeing coming into tonight where Toronto is coming in just as short a rest as Atlanta United almost.
Yeah, they're an odd team. I mean, they've got a great record, but other than Pozuelo, Altidore is still out. He may be back by today. I haven't seen any reports yet on that.
No, he's out for tonight.
Okay, they really just don't have anybody that kind of stands out to you right now. They're just grinding out results, and that's a extreme credit to Greg Vandy and the guys on the team. But other than Pozuelo, it seems like if you can control him, then you have a decent chance to win the game. And Atlanta United has, in its history, been extremely good at taking away the other team's best player. Of course, all that was under Tata, so we'll see what happens with De Boer tonight, because this is the first I'm sorry, Acosta and Rooney did well, but this is, I guess, the second big kind of individual test that Atlanta United will face in MLS this season.
Yeah, one thing in that regard that I found really interesting in the post-match comments from Sunday was the amount of detail put into dealing with Johnny Russell. And I think Russell, I think he's at that caliber. He doesn't get as much attention as your Rooneys, your Pozuelos, and the mega stars, but I think he's that impactful for Kansas City. And the fact that Atlanta, I think, surprised most people by playing Michael Parkhurst as a left back, specifically to deal with Russell. I wonder what they might have in mind to deal with a guy like Pozuelo, who kind of plays in a very free role underneath the striker. He can play as a second striker, but he can also drop in and play in the midfield as well. That's a little bit tougher to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. It's people talk about inverted wingers. Well, Frank De Boer used an inverted fullback against Kansas City, which was an interesting tactical thing. And all coaches are copycats. I'm going to be curious to see how many coaches might try that again against Kansas City or other teams who have inverted wingers this season. I think you'll see Remedi, I thought, had a decent game against Kansas City. He wasn't really challenged a lot. I think you'll just see Remedi being the guy to put all of his focus on Pozuelo, and if Pozuelo drifts out wide, then it's just going to be a matter of communication with the teammates as to who picks him up. I don't think you'll see Parkhurst playing tonight, playing that left fullback, and he was getting up and down that wing.
He was.
I think he probably needs a break before Sunday's game against Orlando, and then I think you might see him again.
When it comes to this stretch of games, Doug, we talk about the players, we talk about the team, but when it comes to putting out information in this day and age, what's it like for you having to go rapid fire as much as the team is having to go rapid fire with as many games in a very short period of time? How challenging is it for you to have to continue to crank out everything that you've been cranking out, but now having to do it pretty quickly for the next couple of weeks or so?
I much prefer to be busy than not. As hard as the beginning of the season was, I would much rather have a couple of games a week than just one game every week, particularly during that earlier stretch when it was just the same things happening over and over again. And I find myself having to write the same things over and over again. And it could be a challenge after a while trying to find a balance in the positives and the negatives when there's not just a lot of positives at the time. So I much prefer these 2 to 3 games a week than anything. So it's been fun. And Atlanta United, Chris Winkler and Elena and Justin and Ramondi and Johannes, they do a great job with the player availability during the week and trying to get us what we need. So it just makes it that much easier.
So as we finish up, Doug has submitted his prediction. It's in a sealed envelope. We'll break that open at 10:30.
Frozen.
Pricewaterhouse is guarding it.
Yes. They've got Jarrett's too. He's actually back on the board. So we've got 2 predictions we'll get to at 10:30. So no prediction to finish up. But yesterday was kind of a wild day around the league, and there's some hints that there maybe could be some moves that got finished that haven't been announced just yet. Were you surprised by any of the teams that made moves or didn't make moves yesterday as the window came to a close?
I liked Seattle's move for Jovan Jones. I thought that was another good piece of business. I laughed when I saw that this designated player that New England's been talking about for more than a year didn't want to come to New England. That just made me laugh. Colorado going out and getting Jonathan Lewis a week after Hudson was saying, I need more players. So they fire Hudson, and then they go get Lewis, is probably the biggest indictment of a coach that I think you'll probably see. I guess they wanted Lewis, but they knew that Hudson wasn't going to be able to do anything with him. So off he goes. And I guess the other big news was Cincinnati firing its manager. I still think it's a bit of a panic move. I know he said he needed more players. I know he had a hand in building the roster, but the roster is just upside down bad. They have no scores. Fernando Adi, was good a few years ago, but I don't think he's that type of difference maker player. And the other guys they got, Maddox and Mana, aren't consistent goal scorers. So when you only got one guy that you can count on to possibly score goals, and even he's not dependable, what do you think's going to happen? So they're still, within the red line. So it'll be interesting to see what Cincinnati does next.
Yeah, it sounds like there's bigger issues in Cincinnati than even just the results on the field, which I'm intrigued to see what their next move is. We'll get into some of that as we go this morning. But Doug, I think, is off to a tea time this morning, right? Getting in some golf before the match.
Playing golf with my father-in-law before I go to the stadium tonight.
Very nice. Well, hit them straight and make your putts, and we'll see you tonight at the Benz.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Fairways and greens.
Yes, always. Make sure you're following Doug at Doug Roberson AJC and Atlanta United News Now on Facebook. We're going to take a break. We'll come back and we'll get you caught up on all of those moves around the league yesterday. Quite a few teams were quite busy on the field, and there's a hint of another move that popped this morning from a player's Twitter that I have turned on notifications because I'm very curious to see what might be happening here. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back, SDH, on a Wednesday. It's a well past Wednesday, so we're taking your questions. Send them our way on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. We're also getting you set for Atlanta and Toronto tonight from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Mike Conti will join us at 10 o'clock. We'll give you predictions at 10:30. But yesterday was the close of the transfer window, and let's start with the moves that have been officially announced completely. Seattle Sounders, I think, were the big winners of the day in terms of bodies. They picked up two, center back Xavier Arriaga from Ecuador and Jovan Jones, who can play left back or left wing, is back from Germany. Two players who, could slot straight into a starting lineup. as soon as they're ready to go. Arriaga will push Roman Torres. He'll push Kim Keehee. He'll push Chad Marshall. And there was actually an interview with Brian Schmetzer that talked about Chad Marshall maybe thinking about retiring after the season. So going to get a guy like Arriaga makes a ton of sense. Young, he's got a cap or two with Ecuador, really starting to come to the fore with Barcelona SC in Ecuador. You should be able to build with that. And then Jovan Jones left you a few years ago to go to Germany. It didn't really work out. He's back. You have a lot of options on the left side. I think this gives you some flexibility going into the summer because one of them, Smith, is on loan, and his loan is up in the summer. So you don't have to bring him back if you don't want to now. And the other, Nuhu Tolo, was the subject of some transfer rumors in the wintertime. Wouldn't be surprising to see him back in rumors in the summer. You have possibilities now that you have cover in Jovan Jones. So I think Seattle Sounders won the transfer window deadline day moves.
Yeah, no, with bodies, with the idea of looking toward the future and still having both of these guys who could be instantly plugged in. I think this is solid play for Seattle to shore up things, and then you bring back Jovan Jones with his capabilities. I'd say Seattle gets a check plus from me for yesterday.
Yeah, so those moves are officially announced. Seattle's in a great spot. Another move that is officially announced as of this time is Fabio Alvarez from Atletico Tucumán in Argentina on loan to the LA Galaxy. 26 years old. He can play as a forward. He can play as a number 10. He can play out wide. Very versatile attacking player, and when you lost Roman Alessandrini, it made a lot of sense for the Galaxy to go find some extra help. He's a targeted allocation money addition as well, and we talked about it with all of the stacking of chips that the Galaxy have been doing lately. You knew something was coming, and Alvarez is a guy who now has an opportunity, basically as an audition, to potentially earn a long-term deal. Seems like a good fit. His versatility will be very important. It's just, how long does it take him to get acclimated to the Galaxy? A guy like Guillermo Barros Escalotto will help you in that regard. But another smart move, I think, in the Galaxy, when you look at, if Alvarez is what we think he can be, and you add him to a front line with Zlatan, and the rest of this talent that the Galaxy have, on paper, they are as good as anybody in this league, and I think they're the best team on paper in the West.
Yeah, and I like this when you can pick up attacking depth, knowing, and obviously you're looking up above you in the table and trying to remember where, I guess up the freeway from where you play in Carson, then you're trying to keep up with their firepower, and you add firepower in Alvarez. And yeah, this is, to me, and you said it's on loan, so it's an audition. But I think that having someone like an Alvarez is going to help you with the depth, with the injuries, and trying to keep pace with LAFC. I like this pickup from the Galaxy, and I want to see how long it's going to take Alvarez to become acclimated to what Guillermo Barros Escalotto wants to do. And then when he's out there, I'm looking forward to seeing what Alvarez can do coming from Tucumán.
Well, and Alvarez also spent some time with Defensa y Justicia. So Nicolas,
there you go.
Fabio Alvarez joining Major League Soccer and joining the Galaxy. Alessandrini is out until September with an injury, so you get him back late too. And the Galaxy are going to be tough as the year goes on. Okay, those are done. Those are announced. The Jonathan Lewis from NYCFC to Colorado situation. So it was brought out on Twitter yesterday that it was going to happen. Have not seen the official announcement. Did I miss it? Has it not happened yet? These happen with these transfer moves. Sometimes things don't get announced, finalized until after the window closes. Paul Tenorio, Sam Stajkal reported yesterday that it was Lewis from NYC to Colorado for, quote, a substantial haul of allocation money. Kyle Schnitzer reported that Columbus had offered $500,000 in allocation money for Lewis earlier in the year. So you're talking a lot. Lewis goes out to join a young core And this is what we've talked about with Colorado, and that they have an opportunity here to do something with Anthony Hudson gone, who just never seemed to get what this league was and what kind of talent was needed and how to deal with it. And it's time now, when you've got Lewis coming in, you've got Cole Bassett, who's one of the top teenagers in the league, you've got Sam Vines as your left back / left wing back teenager, Sebastian Anderson, who made his debut here, teenager, more talent coming through your academy. You now have a young core to build around. Very good move. Waiting on the official announcement, waiting on everything to get final here, but Jonathan Lewis to Colorado seems like a really smart move for the Rapids. And for NYC, we talked about it yesterday, John. Like, they have so many attacking players. Lewis is a promising young player, but they have so many options that he was getting lost in the shuffle. And for whatever reason, he didn't impress Dome Tarrant and Claudio Reyna at times with, I don't know if it was attitude or work rate or what, but he was on the outs. Deal him and bring in some assets. Yeah,
and in checking the Twitters, the most credible last mention about a Jonathan Lewis transaction is coming from about 15 hours ago. So we're still in the limbo when it comes to this deal. But
it happens. I mean, don't freak out about that.
No, not freaking
out. That it fell through. No, I'm just letting people know, because we see this happen with transfer deadlines all the time, where sometimes things get announced after the deadline, paperwork is slow, what have you. This is an internal move within the league, so once it's approved and everything's signed off on, it'll get announced. I have not seen anything or any hints that it was falling through.
But with Jonathan Lewis, you've had some folks in NYC for whatever reason who were there and then sent packing, and now Jonathan Lewis is headed to Colorado. I guess I'll just go ahead and use that verb, that he's headed to Colorado. And I want to see how he integrates. I want to. I like the idea of fresh starts, and I want to see what Lewis is capable of with all of the other young talent that's there in the Rapids system and in the Rapids 18. So, I think that this fresh starts can be good things sometimes, and I think that this is going to be one of those opportunities. I will be optimistic as Jonathan Lewis seems to be heading toward Colorado.
Okay, so one player that had not been mentioned in rumored moves was Benny Feilhaber, currently of the Colorado Rapids. At 7:46 Eastern Time, he tweeted a plane emoji, eyes emoji, and a fountain emoji. John, what city is known as the City of Fountains?
What's Trevia?
No. What? No. He can't go to Trevia. What are you talking about? He can't go to Paris. Their window's closed. Why would he leave for Paris right now?
So then who are the fountains? Who am I missing here?
I was just there. Kansas City. The City of Fountains.
You should have said barbecue.
No. Benny Feilhaber played for Kansas City. He knows about the fountains of Kansas City. And he tweeted a plane and eyes and a fountain. What do you think that means?
Field trip.
Really? What do you think that means, possibly, John?
It means he's hopping on a plane and heading to a fountain.
Yes. And if you're heading to a fountain in this league, you would be headed to Kansas City, who, last time I checked, could use some midfielders who are healthy.
Yeah.
And also, last time I checked, Benny Feilhaber's header picture on Twitter is from Kansas City. So, just saying. Keep an eye on
There's also talk it could be a swap involving Abdul.
Well, I mean, it'd have to be some kind of a swap because, I mean, Colorado's not going to let him go for free. So
No. I'm just saying that Abdul is the name that seems to be mentioned.
Okay, that's interesting. Not sure. Well, I mean, Colorado needs young help at center back. Abdul did not look good in his MLS debut against the Revolution, but he's a young center back from Rwanda who could grow into something. Little surprised Kansas City would deal a healthy center back at this point. But anyway, they do need midfielders, and Benny Feilhaber would add to that team for sure, and he knows exactly what's needed to play in Peter Vermes' system. Interesting one, because that had not been mentioned at all before Benny Feilhaber started tweeting about fountains and making John think he was going to random places on field trips. I mean, what?
Here's your tweet involving Benny Feilhaber. It's like Benny Feilhaber's in a quantum leap scenario where he has to fix a problem in every team in the league before leaping into the next.
I mean, that's very, very possible. Here is your news on the potential trade, and thank you to Scott P. on Twitter. It is from, I'm assuming, it's a sports journalist from Rwanda, so that makes sense that was the connection to Abdul. The journalist from Rwanda, Jean-Luc, I'm going to assume the last name is Imfriyaku. He has reported that Abdul's been traded to Colorado Rapids for Benny Feilhaber, and that's according to Abdul's agent, Simone Girlanda. So
Tom Martin from KCTV in Kansas City is saying that Benny Feilhaber has been traded, will be introduced today.
Well, that's why he's on a plane, and that's why there's eyes looking at fountains, because he's headed to Kansas City, back to KC.
The eyes are looking at the plane. They're not looking at the fountain.
No, the plane was first, John. He's on the plane looking at the fountain.
It looks like the plane's in the air and the eyes are looking at the plane and the fountain's off by itself.
He's landing and looking at you don't know how to use emojis. What are you doing here?
You're right. I don't know how to use emojis.
So don't try to translate emojis if you can't.
I'm just looking at it right.
I'm
looking right at the emoji at face value, and the eyes are looking at the plane. They're not looking at the fountain.
You can't change the way the eyes are looking, John. There's not a left-looking emoji.
That's a problem
there's not
with
a right-looking
iPhones.
emojis.
That's not my problem.
It's Twitter. It's not an iPhone, John. Somebody give John an emoji primer course, please, and we'll move on. I need to see. I need to see this actually happen. Like somebody teach John emojis. That'll be a great segment.
Yeah, good luck on that one. As the owner of an Android phone, I don't use emojis.
John, I use emojis and I have an Android phone. I use emojis on Twitter. It's not an iPhone thing. Anyway, somebody please teach the man. Teach the man. Teach the man. We're moving on. Christian Dyer is going to help us move on. He's reporting that the Red Bulls
this pickup for Red Bulls.
have signed Tom Barlow to the senior roster. He's been lighting it up in the USL Championship with Red Bulls too. It's a no-brainer. Barlow's been. He looks like he's ready.
Digging this completely, and I mean it's just another guy in the pipeline, and you move him up the pathway, and that's what it's for Red Bulls. And now that Barlow is crushing it in the championship, you move him up, and let's see what he can do at MLS level.
So a couple moves that did not get done. DC United was after Yamil Assad, according to Pablo Maurer. They couldn't get it over the line unless there's a surprise coming today. I mean, Assad's not playing at Velez. I don't know if it's Velez Sarsfield being difficult here. I don't know if it's Yamil Assad or his agent being difficult here, but he's wasting away, not even making 18s at Velez. I mean, it's a waste at this point. So DC has his rights in Major League Soccer. I'm just baffled as to why this is going on the way it's going on. The other thing from Maurer is that he reported that Luciano Acosta has now been offered a deal north of $3 million per year for 4 years, and it's a big jump from recent offers. Maybe it is a last chance type of move from DC as you get to the summer window that opens in July, and you get there, Luciano Acosta can sign a contract for a club and join them in January at no cost. So DC's getting a little desperate. It's not a crazy offer. Like for the production that Acosta's given you, it's not a bad offer. It's a little aggressive, but it's not bad. And as we talk about all the time, I think sometimes we get really too worked up about what the number is on a designated player. Once you decide, once you make the decision, he's a designated player, I'm going to spend DP money on him. If the club's willing to spend it, the club's willing to spend it. It doesn't affect really anything else. It's just the money you're willing to spend because there's no cap on it. So $3 million per year for 4, if that's what it takes to get it done to keep Lucho, it's worth it. because we know how important he is to that team. The other one that Doug mentioned, and we don't have the details, so I'm a little reluctant to throw shade at New England here, like everybody else did, which is understandable. And we don't know if this is the guy that Brad Friedel's been talking about so much, about the designated player that they were waiting to get done and blah, blah, blah. I kind of think it's not. Like, it doesn't seem to fit the profile of what that one was, in that it was a player that they were waiting on their season to end, and it was a player who had connections to Friedel at some point. Standard Liège winger Paul-José Mpoku. The transfer fee was agreed on with the Revolution and Standard Liège. The personal terms were not agreed on. Now, it's been reported, and it depends on how you want to say this, basically, that, the player didn't want to go to New England. Well, the player might not have wanted to go to New England because he didn't like the contract that was being offered to him. Might not have had anything to do with him knowing New England Revolution or Gillette Stadium or anything. It could have just been, hey, that's not enough money. I want more. Well, we're not going to give you more. Well, bye. Like that. It could have been that. So they got the transfer part done. They didn't get the personal terms done. It fell apart. Still a bad look. Still a bad look for Mike Burns, for this club that is just languishing. But I'm not going to say that it's because Mpoku said, I'm not going to New England because I don't like them. We don't know that. So I'll be a little reluctant to go down that road.
And cycling back a little bit, Lucho Acosta's 2018 base salary, $550,000, guaranteed salary of $652,000.
Yeah, designated player already. So giving him more money as a designated player is not affecting anything else. You're not having to move another designated player or anything like that. So looks like the Feilhaber thing will get announced today. Waiting on an update on the Jonathan Lewis trade. We'll see if there's any other surprises coming. But that's your transfer deadline recap. We're going to take a break, come back, and get into U.S. Open Cup, which started last night. And there was some craziness because it's the Open Cup and it's what happens. Lots of goals, lots of penalties, lights going out, madness. We'll get you updated and we'll preview tonight's action right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup kicked off last night. It brought the crazy because that's what the tournament does. It's a good thing. And let's get you caught up on that. The first round will continue tonight. But last night you had, 3 penalty shootouts. The Villages and Lakeland Tropics one went pretty deep into the shootout. Yeah. Villages won 8-7. after a 1-1 draw in regulation. Westchester United defeated Baltimore Christos. And just so everybody knows, that's not the Christos. It's a partnership between the amateur club Christos and FC Baltimore of the NPSL. Don't know the exact terms of the partnership, but that is not the Christos team that went to the match with DC United and scored early and captured everybody's imagination. It's not the same team. They lost on penalties. The Christos was knocked out by Virginia United in Open Cup qualifying, and Virginia United was knocked out yesterday 6-2 by the Richmond Kickers. The wildest match of the night was Red Bulls U23 against FC Motown. So FC Motown, NPSL team that has previously had Dilly Duca on its roster. Dilly Duca left FC Motown to go play in Albania this year, so they went and added RJ Allen, former outside back for NYCFC for Orlando City. RJ Allen was very good in this match. Not quite good enough, as the U23s from the Red Bulls won 5-3 on penalties after a 4-4 draw in regulation. It was pretty much bonkers.
Well, you had that one, and going back to the Richmond match, Charles Boateng scores 4. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 for Richmond as they knocked off Virginia United. So, yeah, we had our early share of bonkers, especially when
6-2 for Richmond beating an amateur team that they should beat is not as bonkers as 4-4. Jonathan Falla scores in the 3rd minute for Motown. It's equaled by Marine in the 18th. Then Red Bulls U23 go up 3-1. Then Motown scores 2 goals in 2 minutes to make it 3-3. Then it goes to extra time. Red Bulls U23 score in the 110th minute. And then Motown scores in the 119th. So don't come at me with a 6-2 beating an amateur team that you should beat.
No.
As
just
bonkers,
the notion
like
of
that.
Just the notion of
He
a
scored 4
gentleman
goals.
scoring
Yippee.
4.
He played against a team that's a bunch of part-timers who probably had to get to work this morning. That's not as impressive as this wild match.
And then, excuse me. Well, what about Villages and Lakeland Tropics going 8-7 in penalties?
John, 4-4.
Separate kind of bonkers.
No, it's not the same bonkers. You cannot argue that anything matched Red Bulls U23 and FC Motown, because 4-4 and then penalties, complete and utter bonkers. Nothing else touched it. The rest of the results, the biggest surprise, yes. I mean, there's been a few you could say that are cup sets. Some would consider Westchester United over Baltimore Christos as a cup set based off where they play. Tormenta 2, and this is the USL League 2 version of South Georgia Tormenta, amateur. They defeated Chattanooga Red Wolves 3-0 and dominated in Statesboro. Tormenta 2 is a very good team.
And we were watching that one last night, and Darren and Nitra Van Tassel were sitting in their assigned seats, self-assigned seats, so they were there as well. But Tormenta from the beginning was dominant against Chattanooga Red Wolves and kind of forced Tim Hankinson's hand when they were down to bring on Amun Zayed, even though you probably didn't want to do that considering that you're in league play, but to try to get some offense going, and it didn't work, and Tormenta 2 moves on, and the Red Wolves get back to playing in the USL League 1.
Your other results from last night, Forward Madison 2-0 over Milwaukee Bavarian.
Flamingos happened twice.
They beat an amateur team. They were supposed to do that. Laredo Heat beat Cavalry 1-0. El Farolito 2-1 over Academica. Orange County FC 2-0 over Golden State Force. And Cal FC with a big 5-1 win over Mulhouse. And there was drama there because of the lights?
Yeah. And first and foremost, I think we probably need to give a shout out to friend of the network, Poppy Miller, the voice of the Charleston Battery. She had 2 games to call last night in Open Cup, and one was Villages and Lakeland Tropics. So she called that PK Madness, and then called Cal SC and Mulhouse Portland. Cal was up 3-0 in the 30s, and they had the lights go out at the stadium. And this was at a multiple soccer field complex, and all the other lights and all the other pitches were up and running. But I guess they blew a breaker and were having to fill shall we say, when it came to Cal being up 3-0, and they ended up winning 5-1. But there was a time where Poppy and her color analyst had to kind of just discuss things for a while.
That's never fun. Let's get into the matches from tonight. So you've got Erie Commodores and Dayton Dutch Lions, Reading United Junior Lone Star, Lansing Ignite Ann Arbor, Miami FC, and the Florida Soccer Soldiers, local amateur qualifier. Greenville Triumph and Tormenta Pro. So this is a USL League One versus USL League One matchup in Greenville. The New York Cosmos and Great Barrington, Little Rock Rangers and North Texas Rayados. That should be a really interesting one. Des Moines Menace and FC Duluth. The Midland Odessa. Are they back to the Soccers, or is it? What are they now? I can't keep up with which league they're in anymore. And FC Denver is tonight.
Yeah, I think that they're back to being the Soccers, and so I'm efforting what league they're in and how they're doing things. So let me figure that out. But last time I checked, they were the Soccers, and they're in the NPSL Lone Star Conference. Yeah,
it gets a little complicated as teams move back and forth. Yes, they're the Midland Odessa Soccers FC of the NPSL. They're facing FC Denver on the road. And it's New York Cosmos B, technically, from the NPSL, although they can be fully pro. They're on the road playing Blackrock FC at 7:30, but it's at the Rocco Camiso Soccer Stadium at Columbia University. So Cosmos on the road, but kind of not on the road. Florida Soccer Soldiers and Miami FC is at Buccaneer Field at Barry University. So some interesting ones there. We know a couple matchups already for next week when your USL Championship teams come in. The Villages will be headed to Tampa Bay Rowdies. South Georgia Tormenta 2 will be headed to face Nashville SC, but they're playing that at Middle Tennessee State in Murfreesboro. That's a
great idea.
Yeah, I like that. Tulsa Roughnecks headed to Austin to face the Bold. That's a USL Championship matchup. Laredo Heat on the road to San Antonio. Cal FC to Las Vegas Lights. So it's Winalda's former club, Cal FC, against his current club, Las Vegas Lights. The Winalda Derby at Cashman Field next week. That's on Tuesday night. Let's see. Richmond Kickers going to North Carolina FC on Wednesday. Red Bulls U23s at Memphis 901. That could be a cup set. Memphis is a team that's struggling a little bit in USL Championship, and that Red Bulls U23 squad's pretty good. Westchester United, the amateur team that knocked out Baltimore Christos, they go to Birmingham. That's a pretty long trip for them to face Legion, who's been playing pretty well. Forward Madison goes to El Paso to face the Locomotive. New Mexico United at Phoenix Rising. That's another USL Championship on USL Championship match. Fresno FC goes to place El Farolito at Boxer Stadium in San Francisco. Another USL Championship match, USL Sacramento Republic hosting Reno 1868. And then the Orange County Derby, because, Orange County FC facing Orange County SC.
Yeah.
It is the FC of the NPSL versus the SC of the USL Championship, because we all want to be confused. That is 10:30 on Wednesday night next week from the Orange County
Both sets of fans
Park.
Rooting for the other unceremoniously. They're confused. It's like, oh, crap, I was supposed to root for my guys.
No. Don't diminish the brain power of the Orange County fans to know which club is theirs. That's not going to happen. But I'd love to get into the drama of why you have an Orange County FC and an SC in the NPSL and the championship, and just how they've both emerged. That would be a pretty interesting one. I'm sure you'll get some of that over at thecup.us over the next week. We're going to take a break, come back, and take some questions as we get set for Mike Conti joining us at 10 o'clock as we look ahead to Atlanta and Toronto tonight from the Bins. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Final segment, hour number 1. We've had a few questions. It's a while past Wednesday, so we try to keep with the theme as best we can, even on a match day. What do we have on the Twitters, John?
Well, we have the discussion from El Mataflo, who, much like me and the Colonel, stuck seeing Swansea not in the playoffs again in the USL Championship. Seattle's move for Arriaga is a good one, but IDK about the DP money. He's a solid defender with a decent goal-scoring record and international experience. Time will tell. Also wondering about Miram and what it means for Carlton. Hashtag Wild Pass Wednesday.
Yeah, the Arriaga one, I'm going to guess that he's a designated player because of the transfer fee. I don't know if he would be commanding a designated player salary. And it could be a situation, too, where he's a designated player, but it's not much over the threshold, and you just don't need to buy him down yet. So let's wait and see what those numbers come out at in the actually might not come out in this players union announcement because that's due really any time for their spring release of salaries. So keep an eye there. I would be shocked if he's a large money designated player. I think it's probably one you could buy down. Meram and what it means for Carlton. One, we talked about it yesterday. We didn't think there was any moves that had to be made, but you always keep your ears on, and you always are wondering about guys who could become available that surprise you a bit. I was a little surprised that Meram was available because I figured Caleb Porter would give him more of an opportunity. He's a different kind of winger than Caleb Porter generally wants in his system, but we know how effective he's been, and he was a very good fit for Greg Berhalter's system. He was a very good fit just recently, and this is what surprised me, is he went to join the Iraqi national team and played really well back in March. He was named player of a tournament in a friendly tournament in Iraq. He won the trophy as the MVP of the tournament. He came back, didn't really get much opportunity with Columbus. So they want to move him for really nothing?
Yeah.
You got to pounce on that. $100,000 in general allocation money in a second-round draft pick is nothing. You pounce on that because he can step in tonight and help you. It would not surprise me if it's not tonight, if it's this weekend, that he's in an 18 and could potentially get some playing time. I think when it comes to Andrew Carlton, we don't know if he's going to join the US U20s. We'll wait and see on Friday morning. It maybe is a little bit of a long shot, but I don't think it's completely ruled out, because Tab Ramos really likes what Andrew Carlton brings to that team, and he's talked very positively about Carlton for a long time. So you might be missing Carlton over the next month, and you're able to get Meram to ride out the losses of Barco and Carlton. Done. Good deal. Long term, Carlton still is at a point where he's got to earn it and prove it, and it's been good, not great. I think his performances with the first team have been good. I think his performances with Atlanta United 2 have been more spotty. I like what he's trying to do. It's just not coming off yet. And it happens with teenagers sometimes. It's not anything where, this means Carlton's on the outs or anything like that. No, I don't think so. I think it means you get a chance to get a talented player in and increase the competition in your squad. You go do it. And this is where MLS should be headed. This is something that Pep Guardiola talked about this past season, where Manchester City had one of the greatest years ever in the Premier League, and they still went out and added pieces. Why? Because he wanted to increase the competition within the squad. He wanted to keep guys on their toes. Adding Meram does that. Meram training and trying to earn time with Tito Villalba, with Andrew Carlton, with Dion Pereira, with Ezequiel Barco, that's good. That's a really good thing overall for the team. And I think Meram's at a spot in his career, John, where if Meram's not starting game in, game out, he's been doing that lately. So it's not that shock to the system. I think he's going to come in and fight. And I think that's going to help lift everybody, to be honest.
Yeah, and I like this from a veteran piece, from a depth piece, from a spot starter piece. It hit all the boxes for me, especially when you discuss the value of the trade at $100,000 and a number 2 from 2020. Eichmann, a couple of things before we go to break into hour 1. Eichmann says, with Meram getting here, I'd love to see him get an appearance against Orlando and a late goal. And then there's the picture from Getty Images of him with his fingers in his ears from the Orlando kit. And then Eichmann wanted to know, he thought we were out of international spots.
He's not an international. He's an American citizen. Parents are from Iraq, and he opted to play for Iraq because of his parents. It's a great story. Highly recommended over at Players Tribune had that. That's right. That Justin talked about his decision to do that and how much it means to him. So go check that out over at Players Tribune for sure. But yeah, he's an American citizen. He doesn't take up an international spot. You've still got flexibility on international spots, and we're waiting on Gordon Wild to get back with a green card because he's in Germany, and you would expect he's coming back to maybe help with those international spots. We'll see. We're going to take a break, get Mike Conti on the line, talk more Atlanta and Toronto right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, SDH for May 8th. It's Wall Pass Wednesday. We'll get some more questions from you guys as we go, but it's also match day. Toronto FC come into town, a club Atlanta United has never defeated. One club they'd never defeated was Sporting Kansas City. You can cross that one off the list. You still have Seattle and Cincinnati out there, but Toronto comes to town tonight. Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game joins us right now. How worried are you about Toronto, Mike?
I worry about every match, Jason. You know me. I worry about what they're going to have for dinner in the press box. I worry about, am I going to get
3 cheese mac and cheese?
Better be. And I want the panko-crusted chicken at some point soon. But I honestly, Jason and John, I think this is their toughest match of the month, Atlanta United. And I know that sounds a little crazy when you consider all the travel that they still have to come. This is the best team you're going to play in the month of May. Flat out, best team you're going to play in the month of May. No disrespect to Orlando, but they're starting to come back to earth. I'm not going to say fade, but come back to earth. No disrespect to Vancouver, who's at less than a point per match. No disrespect to Red Bulls, who are starting to spike a little bit, but have been at best inconsistent. No disrespect to RSL, which if you start to look at the power rankings right now, they are really starting to crater in the eyes of analysts, and they're down right now at a point per match. No disrespect to Minnesota, who plays very entertaining soccer, but hasn't been great on the road this year. And no disrespect to Chicago, who I know is coming off a thrilling scoreless draw to LAFC, but a team that in league play Atlanta United has dominated this year. All right, so I mean that's the month of May going into June 1st. Toronto is still at 2 points per match. Pozuelo's been probably the most exciting, dynamic addition to the league this year, along with Nani. And they have that little bit of a mental edge as well, because, as you said, Jason, Atlanta United's never beaten them. And in fact, they were embarrassed by them the last time they played. So this is going to be a really, really tough assignment tonight. You add in the fact that Atlanta had to travel on Monday. Toronto got here, I think, Saturday night, if not very early Sunday. They've been training in town for the last couple days. So it almost feels like not necessarily a home match for Toronto, but from the standpoint of travel, they don't really have that in play. A lot of elements coming into tonight are not necessarily in Atlanta United's favor. And then on top of it, you throw in the fact that the best attacking player on each team won't play tonight. If you want to argue that Altidore is the best attacking player for Toronto and Barco is the best attacking player for Atlanta United. So I'm worried. I think this can be a very productive month for Atlanta United, regardless of the result tonight. But, as I tweeted yesterday, you're one of the hottest teams in the league all of a sudden right now. Only Philadelphia and New York City have earned more points over their last 4 matches than Atlanta United. So from the standpoint of momentum and keeping the good vibes that have been created since Sunday among the supporters and the fan base, it is important to at least get some kind of result tonight.
Going back to the juju that was created in Kansas City, obviously you look at Barco, and Barco headed to the U20s. Joseph, who sacrificed his body, and it looked like a portion of Tim Melia's on the one goal to put it into the back of the net. But I want to focus on P.T. Martinez and your observations of P.T., because there were moments where he was looking the most comfortable that we've seen him. There was the one instance early where he tried to sneak it into the net with the left and just missed the post. Your takeaways of PT's play against Sporting as you head into this busy month?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He played great. I don't think it was all that different of a performance than what he had maybe in some of the earlier season matches. Herediano comes to mind at Kennesaw, where we've seen PT be that type of creator and create some good opportunities for himself, but just miss on the conversion. And it felt like that again on Sunday, where PT was very, very involved, did a tremendous job of giving himself some space to create opportunities. But again, the conversion was just a tick off. And what I'm hoping is that, like Joseph, Once you get that first, once you can curl that first one in from distance or come up with that kind of magic that we know he's capable of, even if it's on a free kick, then maybe that opens the floodgates a little bit for him. But at the very least, it's good to see him visibly having a good time. I don't like getting into the body language discussion much because I think you're trying to quantify something that's unquantifiable. But it was good to see him smiling in a better place in terms of body language when he came out of the game on Sunday. What I'll be curious to see now, guys, is are we going to see full 90s out of Pitti here starting tonight? You almost feel like he has to with Barco gone. Off the top of my head, has Pitti played a full 90 at all this year? I don't think he has.
I think he did. I think he did one time.
Yeah, maybe before the international break in March.
I want to say it was the Monterey second leg.
You might be right, Jason. But it's been a while. It's been a minute. And, you're going to – the Justin Meram pickup is great, but you're going to need Pitti to put in some very, very heavy minutes from this point forward. And I almost feel like Frank has been a little bit reluctant to leave him in there for 90 minutes. So I'll be curious. And a lot of it depends on how this match evolves tonight and if Atlanta United's playing with a 2-0 or a 3-0 lead late and maybe they need to bring in a defender for cover. I'll be curious to see if Frank pulls the training wheels off a little bit and lets Pitti play a full 90. But I think he's right there, John. I mean, to answer your question, I think he's right there. I don't have any concerns about Pitti. I don't have any concerns about him getting frustrated with himself or losing confidence. He's not the South American Player of the Year by accident. And we're starting to see traces now of the Pitti Martinez that made us so excited when we watched his film at River Plate.
90 minutes against Philadelphia back on March 17th.
Okay, wow. I mean, that feels like an eternity ago, doesn't it? And that's the only one.
That was right before that international break, too, where he got dinged up with Argentina. What do you think about the Meram pickup?
Love it. It's funny because on 92.9, they've been asking me in some of my appearances, what are you going to do with Barco out? Who's going to replace him? And you start to think about that and you say, all right, well, Tito's going to be in the mix. I mean, he can kind of slot in there, but then behind him, what do? And you don't like the situation you have right now with your depth among your attacking players. It's Carlton. Kratz is not yet healthy. Like we said, Barca will be gone. Frank had mentioned yesterday that Tito and Joseph will be gone at some point. I think probably more so during U.S. Open Cup, during that international window in June. But you don't really have a lot of options as far as attacking wingers are concerned, attacking midfielders are concerned. So the Meram pickup makes a lot of sense as far as bringing in a depth piece. But then you look at it a little bit further, and the form that he was in up through the conclusion of the 2017 season, and you're thinking, boy, I mean, if he can find that spark, the spark that he had when he was playing in Columbus under Greg Berhalter, boy, the sky could really be the limit here for Justin Meram, where he could be someone you are really, really counting on and depending on from now through the end of the season. And I think it's very possible. There are things that happen in Orlando that really, really took a toll on him away from the field. And obviously we saw signs of it on the field with the Ears Plug celebration. You get him back into Columbus where he's playing under Berhalter. He does better under him. He's happy. And then Columbus makes the coaching change. And it's just not working for him now under Caleb Porter the same way that it was working under Greg Berhalter. So I think the change of scenery will be beneficial. I think he will certainly benefit playing with the quality that Atlanta United has in terms of personnel. And boy, oh boy, I mean, what a coincidence that coming in here now on Sunday, and I don't want to overlook the fact that he might play tonight because I think he's going to be in the lineup, but boy, you're looking ahead now to Sunday. And here comes Orlando that, basically kind of threw him out the window the way he was treated there. And if he could get a goal or do something against that team, you're talking about Justin Meram becoming an instant legend in this town. And I think he's going to get the opportunity. I really think he plays almost immediately. And I wouldn't be shocked if you even saw him tonight.
And in a veteran like Miram, you have, and this is just my dime store observation, Mike, you have a veteran who is motivated now that he's coming to a team that is the defending MLS Cup champ, one that wanted him, wasn't giving him up for basically the change you had in your pockets or whatever the emu throws up out of the desk in the Liberty Mutual ad, which is basically what it ended up. And I think that you have also a veteran who is comfortable in his place and wants to contribute in whatever Frank DeBoer wants him to do to continue to chase things in the Eastern Conference. So I think that you have a bunch of check marks that you can hit all the boxes with when you have a pickup like this with Miram.
So what you're telling me, John, is you have a soccer veteran who's been around for a long time and had a lot of success until recently when he went to a club that did not have a very good pedigree and languished there, and went to another club that was impatient with him, and now he's getting a chance to play for Atlanta. And he might have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. That sounds kind of familiar to someone else that Atlanta United brought in the offseason, someone who doesn't play. And I think that decision has started to work out very, very well. I know people have been impatient with Frank, but it feels a lot like Frank, doesn't it? Like, you know, he had this illustrious career with Ajax. He goes to a place that was not patient with him and a place that is languishing right now, and then he goes somewhere else where they weren't very patient with him, a club that has a very, very checkered past. And now he comes to Atlanta, a chance to be with the MLS Cup champions with a chip on his shoulder. Worked out well for Frank. I really think it worked out well for Frank. I mean, the sample size is still small. Maybe it'll work out for Justin Miram, too.
It's going to be interesting to see how quickly Miram gets in. I mean, yeah, remember, he's been playing with Columbus. He's been coming off the bench. He's been training. It's not like he's been out of form or anything like that. So he should be able to drop straight in. The system has a lot of similarities to what Miram did with Greg Berhalter in Columbus. So
I think he's in the 18 for sure tonight. I
wouldn't shock me.
I have very little doubt on that, because if Carlton had some kind of illness last week, as we were told, something that kept him out of the USL match and then kept him out of the 18. I don't think he came to Kansas City.
No.
You're probably looking at Miram and Dion Pereira as two of your attack-oriented subs tonight. We were texting about this yesterday, Jason. There's probably not too dramatic of a learning curve for Miram if they want him to play 10 or 15 minutes tonight, again, depending on the situation of the match, for him to go out there and give them 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, there's no learning curve. I think it's just the only learning curve that's there is it's not even a learning curve. It's just more about getting, accustomed to your teammates. Learning the system, it's nuance because everybody looks at the style of play a little differently, but from a possession-oriented team that wanted their wingers to cut inside and take players 1v1 like Greg Berhalter had in Columbus, to a possession-oriented team that is completely comfortable with their wingers cutting inside and taking people 1v1, Justin Miram should fit right in perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So Toronto, all right, we know Josie Altidore not here. He's back in Toronto. We know Drew Moore not here, back in Toronto with a calf injury. What scares you about what Toronto can put on the field tonight? Other than Pozuelo, we know the threat Pozuelo brings. What else is it about Toronto that worries you tonight?
Is Doug on the line yet? Because if I told you the truth, he would probably hang up or disagree with me.
No, Doug has already completed his appearance for the day, so it's a safe zone, Mike.
Good. Okay, because safe space. Look, Bradley, I respect the heck out of him. I know he's a polarizing figure, and I understand why. Bradley's still got it, and I think we really saw that last October, didn't we, up in Toronto? His ability to do things and create chances. And Toronto, by the way, I mean, their goal numbers, their shot numbers are pretty interesting. I want to say Toronto is, oh boy, I don't have my notes in front of me. I want to say they're first or second in shots on goal, but last in the league in shots. It's a weird stat, isn't it? They don't take a lot of shots, but the shots they take all seem to be on goal. And, they've scored 21 goals this year, which, is tied for second in the league behind only LAFC. Bradley is still the engine, and the engine is running on all cylinders right now, right, to use a sports cliche. So, Bradley's the guy you've got to close down tonight. And this is going to be, I think this match screams for Jeff Larentowicz. I'm not certain he's going to start tonight, but I feel like this is a job for Jeff Larentowicz to maybe try to make things difficult, ask some questions of Michael Bradley when he's got the ball. Outside of that, though, this is a team that knows how to play on the road. They know how to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and get results. I know they are a lot different than they were in 2017 when they got the 2-2 draw on decision day. They're quite a bit different than they were last year when they pulled the late draw at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, one of the more frustrating results of the year. But the heartbeat of the team is Bradley, and the heartbeat is still here. So he's Pozuelo, obviously. I mean, he's someone that scares you, but to me, it's Bradley. If Bradley plays well tonight, Atlanta United's in trouble. If Bradley has a bad game, I think it's going to be a good night for Atlanta United.
And then up top, obviously with no Altidore, you're seeing the emergence of a guy like a Jordan Hamilton. And you have Hamilton, you've got Ao Akinola. There are a couple of different ways that Greg Vanney has been able to fill the space that Altidore has left there. And I think that, we've mentioned momentum, and let me get into the fans again, because tonight is one of those opportunities. It's the first one to get you ready for Orlando. And I think that the fans coming out tonight, I know it's a Wednesday and I know that it's a midweek game, but it's another opportunity for the 17s to get out there and sit there and against an opponent that Atlanta United has not had wins against to push them forward in this busy month of May.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, John, I'm concerned because, and look, it's a small sample size, but I'm friends with a lot of people on Facebook, and I am seeing a lot of people trying to get rid of their tickets tonight, and that scares me. This is one where you need a full-throated crowd tonight to really propel this team. The players have talked about this repeatedly. It's a real thing. And I will tell you, I am very concerned. I've seen a lot of people trying to unload tickets and having trouble finding takers for those tickets tonight. It is very difficult. It's a Wednesday night, 7 o'clock kick. That is difficult. I sympathize with that. I know traffic sucks. This is why we all have sick days and half days, though, right? Like we all we're all in this together here. We don't get to choose whether or not we can support a team because of when the match is being played. You're either all in or you aren't. So I hope we have a great crowd tonight. Roof will be open. That, I think, always adds a really fun element of atmosphere. Atlanta United has never lost with the roof open at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's only been 4 matches, but they're 3-0-1. I really hope that what I'm seeing online of people trying to get rid of their tickets is just, hey, I have an extra. Do you want to come with me tonight? And not, hey, I'm tapping out of this game tonight because of an Uber strike or I have work or whatever. We need a good crowd there tonight. And we need a good crowd on Sunday. That's going to be tricky, too, with Mother's Day. But, again, this is a real thing that the players have talked about this year. They need Mercedes-Benz Stadium to be a home field advantage again. They need it to be an intimidating place for opponents to come in and expect that they're going to get a result. You have an opportunity tonight to get, I think, one of your defining results of the season if you can get a win here against this team, because Toronto is good. But for it to mean something, you have to have the backing of the fans, and the fans need to be there to see it.
Yeah, and if it is a smaller than normal crowd tonight, that doesn't mean you can't be loud, and it doesn't mean you can't be a little bit louder and make up for that. Wednesday night games are tough in any league, anywhere in the world. It happens. It's always going to happen. It's all good. Don't start freaking out about that.
Right.
Some people
no,
will.
No, and Jason, that's a great point. Like, if it is a smaller than normal crowd, don't jump to any conclusions. I mean, we had some people doing that in the media after the Colorado match, jumping to conclusions about the size of that crowd. Stop. This is still one of the 10 best attended clubs in the world. The tickets are all being sold. Let's miss me with that right now, because that is not a storyline. Wednesdays are tough everywhere, as you said, no matter where you go, no matter who you're playing. But that said, if you have tickets, please use them tonight. It would be very nice.
Yeah, and thanks to some of our listeners who said they couldn't make it tonight, whether it was people who are in the Atlanta area, couldn't get here, people from outside the Atlanta area who have season tickets. Wednesdays are very tough. They donated tickets, and we were able to find homes with Soccer in the Streets coaches, and especially some volunteer coaches, as a way to reward people who give their time up, don't get paid to go out and coach kids in the community. They're getting a chance to go to the game tonight thanks to some of the listeners of the show. So thanks to you guys for doing that. And that's a big part of it.
Make sure those tickets are being used. So I'm really glad to hear that. It gives a lot of deserving people a chance to go to a game, and it ensures that the tickets will be used. So that's great work by SDH listeners.
So we are on at 6:30 tonight for pregame. It's a little early.
I'm all for it. I can be in bed by 10 o'clock. I can watch The Daily Show and call the night. So I'm all for it.
10 o'clock? We'll be finishing up the full-time report at 10 o'clock, Mike.
Well, I drive fast, so and I have a DVR. So, 6:30 for the Five Stripes Countdown, 7 o'clock for the kickoff. And don't forget, we'll have stoppage time, too, at 2 o'clock. So, very busy day for us here at the radio.
Excellent plug, sir. Excellent plug.
All of the things will be all over every component of 92.9 The Game for the rest of the day. See you in a little bit, Mike. Thanks.
All right, guys. Take care.
Be good.
Take a quick break. We've got some breaking news on the other side about another trade that was finalized right before the deadline. We'll be right back after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, May 8th, getting ready for Atlanta and Toronto. Other matches in Major League Soccer tonight as well, along with your Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup action. But we have a little bit of this. Paul Tenorio over at The Athletic reporting that the Philadelphia Union will be trading winger David Accam to the Columbus Crew. Not sure what Philadelphia is going to get for Accam. Makes sense. I mean, Accam is a little more of a Caleb Porter type of winger than Justin Merrim was. So you move Merrim, you create a roster spot for Accam, you go bring in Accam. Accam wasn't – he's playing better than he did last year for Philly, but Philly, with some of the emergence of their young players and tweaks to their system, Accam was not a guaranteed 90 minutes every match kind of player. So I think it makes sense all the way around.
Yeah, no doubt. And we were talking about it with Mike in the break before he had to drop off the line. So, I like the idea, and now I just want to see how it's going to play out now in Columbus with a calm there and away from Philadelphia.
Well, 4 starts this season in 11 matches for Philly, and they're diamond. There's not really a fit for him. So he was never going to live up to what they spent last year to bring him in. $300,000 in GAM, $900,000 in TAM to Chicago to bring him in January. I don't think Philly's getting that kind of return back. We'll see what they get for him. He's also a designated player. He made $1.25 million last year, has another guaranteed year left after this season. So Philly's got an open spot in terms of designated players for the summer window that's upcoming. That'll be intriguing, especially with the success Philadelphia's had this season. And now Columbus is able to take that on, and we'll see if a calm makes everything work better for Caleb Porter. I think it makes a lot of sense all the way around. Talking about those price tags. So, okay, last year, 1.2 in total of allocation money for David Accam. You're not going to get that much in return. We'll see what they get. Last year, Orlando gave up a lot of allocation money to get Justin Merrim from Columbus. Then they gave up most of that back to send him back. One of the reasons he was sent back, and I want to remind people of this when we talk about, Justin Merrim, the wheels are falling off. This is what he said in June of last year that eventually led to the trade once the window opened and he kind of stepped away from the team in terms of training. He said, along with talking about the abuse he was taking from fans, and remember, in May, when he scored, he did the fingers in the air celebration in front of their supporters. Didn't really talk about it publicly until June, late June. So he talked about the fan side, but what he said about the team specifically in his play on the field, he said, I think for me, I was coming from a place where roles were identified clearly, specifically, and there's kind of a sense of you knew where everyone was at every time. It was very organized. I could see how, when I've been involved with something like that for so many years, you are comfortable in a system. I was in one place for 7 years. Now I've come here where the culture is very different for me. So he stressed how everything was organized. He knew what his role was. Great communication from the staff to him. He knew exactly what he was to do on the field. We've talked about it here. Frank DeBoer, his organization, he's building that. Everything is very defined. That's a possession style. Orlando, Merrim struggled because there was no system under Jason Kreis, which, again, we talked about it last year. It blew my mind because Kreis was very organized at Real Salt Lake. I don't know what changed for him in Orlando in 2018, but it did. Merrim discussed it then. He never got settled in Orlando. Roles weren't identified clearly. He goes back to Columbus. He's trying to kind of rebuild confidence and all that. And then Greg Berhalter leaves, and you bring in Caleb Porter. Different system, different demands, different things he wants. Merrim didn't really fit that. But he's coming into a system now that is much closer to when he played his best in this league, and he was among the best players in this league in 2017, not that long ago, to a point that you're talking about Orlando City giving up $1.05 million in allocation money to get him. Now you get him for $100,000 in a second-round draft pick. Buy low, and I think you could get a big return on this because the things that Merrim talked about in Orlando that affected him, you're not going to have here. You're not going to have the fan reaction towards him that you had in Orlando after he had just arrived, which is ridiculous. And you're not going to have the lack of communication, the lack of organization. None of that's going to be the case here. Every player's come to Atlanta, whether it's the off-the-field organization. Bobby Boswell talked about it a lot. He'd never been in a club that just treated people the way they did. And Bobby Boswell was here for just a short period of time. Every player's talked about this. It is the opposite of Orlando. I think you could see Justin Merrim get back to that kind of level and really be a big contributor. If he doesn't, you didn't spend very much. It is really a low-risk situation here.
10%. $1.05 million when Columbus ships him to Orlando. The $750 was the return. It's $100,000 and a second-round pick in the 2020 draft. It is a 10% look at that first transaction. Drew Gano on the Twitters here on Wall Pass Wednesday, not a fan. You went into your thought a little bit here, but I'll read the whole thing. Everyone's acting like an Apple fanboy in September with the Miram trade. Had it been 2 years ago, I'd have been right there, but he's done close to 1.5 years. Seems like we got a second-rate Nagbe, not a goal-scoring replacement like we need. Hashtag Wall Pass Wednesday.
He's not Nagbe because he's a winger, and he had double-digit goals in 2017. I go back to some of the reasons why that he struggled in 2018. He went to a dysfunctional Orlando City team that fired their manager, and Merrim said that roles were not clearly defined. I don't think roles off the field were clearly defined. We talked about the leadership vacuum in Orlando at the beginning of last season. They couldn't ever get it right between Klestion, between Dwyer, between Bendick, between the rest of it. They never got it right. He struggled in that environment. He struggled in that scenario. Went back to Columbus to try to rebuild his confidence, and I don't think you can discount how much the fan abuse affected him. I mean, to the point that he celebrated in front of his own fans the way he did and posted a picture of it on social media, and the ridiculous abuse that he took. That affects you. So you're in that scenario. It's basically a wasted first half of the year. You end up getting back to Columbus at the end of the year. Everything's settled in Columbus in the way that they play at that point. You're not going to, take a starting job immediately, even going back to a club that you've been at. You're trying to rebuild, and then they make a change at manager, and he didn't fit. What made me feel good about this move and what gives me hope in that this move will pay off, one, it doesn't have to pay off very much to get a return on your investment because you didn't spend very much. Two, even with the issues that he had last season, even with not getting a lot of time, this year he played for Iraq with his national team, and was a player of the tournament scoring goals in the March international window. He's capable of it. I think he's a perfect fit. He's one of the best dribblers in the league. He's a guy who can score and create for others. He's had double-digit goals and double-digit assists in 2017 and 2016 in this league in a system that is similar to what Frank DeBoer plays here in Atlanta. He's not a Nagbe because he's not a central player. He's a wide player. I think he goes into the mix. I think he's going to push guys for playing time. And if he gets back to where he was in 2017, which wasn't that long ago, really, in a system that he's comfortable in, I think it could be one of the steals of the season, to be honest.
I'm right there with you. Swixter says the next two games are very good measuring sticks. Toronto and Orlando both have 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Toronto just beat Orlando at Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely measuring sticks. I think they're just opportunities because they're back-to-back at home. And with the schedule coming up soon, you want to stack points up. And you've got 2 chances to do it at the Benz. It's important to get these 6 points over the next 2 matches. Toronto, missing Josie Altidore, missing Drew Moore, will affect them. Orlando is getting back to some of that up-and-down craziness that we've seen out of them over the years. I thought you look back at that game from the weekend, and Toronto was very good. They controlled the match. They looked like a 4-4-2 when it was listed, but it really played more like a 4-2-3-1 with Pozuelo dropping deeper into the hole behind the forward and Bradley and Delgado sitting back as holding midfielders. Your outside backs pushed up really high. The wingers tucked inside, especially Osorio. He was outstanding, and he's a player you have to keep an eye on in a pretty free role. Osorio and Pozuelo are pretty free to go find the game in the system. Nick De Leon played on the right side, functioned a little more like a typical winger, a little wider, but he also had Auro up and down the wing, which is typical for Toronto's system. Pozuelo created 3 chances. Osorio had 3 shots on goal. What you can't let happen is what Orlando conceded to Toronto. They let Delgado and Bradley just dominate the game. Between the two of them, Delgado and Bradley, your 2 holding midfielders, 189 passes between the 2 of them, completed at about 92% accuracy between the 2 of them, and 115 passes in Orlando's half between the 2 of them. You can't let the other team's 2 central midfielders dominate a game that way. You can't. They can't get that many touches. One thing to keep an eye on specifically tonight, and we've talked, I think, both with Doug and with Mike about how to deal with Pozuelo. And Atlanta's generally been very good at shutting down the opposing top player. Pozuelo is that tonight. It was Marky Delgado to Pozuelo that was the number 1 passing combination for Toronto against Orlando. 21 times. Delgado had 101 passes, period. 20% of them to Pozuelo. He was your supply line to Pozuelo. Far more than Bradley was. You have to cut that out. And it goes back to the beginning. I don't think you can let Delgado and Bradley dictate this game. You need to get pressure on them. I'll be curious to see how Atlanta does that. Do they play 2 holding midfielders, Jeff Larentowicz and Eric Remedi, and play Pitti in front of them? Do you maybe bring in Darlington Nagbe to play higher up the field to put pressure on Delgado? I'd like to see something like that. Shut down Delgado or Bradley. You have to take one of them out of the picture and then close the other one down as much as you can. If you can play the inverse of what they do, so if they're going to play a 4-4-2 that really functions more like a 4-2-3-1 with Pozuelo as the head of the triangle from an attacking perspective, and they're going to have their 2 holding guys on the ball a lot, I'll be curious to see if Atlanta flips it and has 1 holding to deal with Pozuelo, and if that's Jeff Larentowicz, if that's Eric Remedi, okay, and have the other 2 central midfielders up high to make life difficult for Delgado and Bradley. I think if you take Delgado and Bradley out of the game, you close them down, you shut off the supply lines to Pozuelo and to Osorio, you can really shut Toronto down. Then you're worried about crosses. I'll take my chances there.
A lot of folks are looking at the center of the pitch as the focal point tonight. So your breakdown there is what a lot of folks are looking at, making sure that Pozuelo does not get possession, have the opportunities that he's had to create and or finish for Toronto. And that was going to be my question before you went into the analysis. Is it, do you cut off the supply line at the end of the supply line, or do you cut it off at the beginning of the supply line? And you're saying cut it off at the beginning of the supply line so the passes don't even have the opportunity to get to an Alejandro Pozuelo.
Yeah, I mean, you got to deal with the end game of it too. You've got to shut Pozuelo down because you can't completely, cut him off from receiving the ball. But if Delgado to Pozuelo is the big thing here, okay, let's take care of that. And I think anyway, when you have a team that wants to control possession through their 2 holding midfielders, you just want to press them and make life difficult for them. If that's the spot you press, that's the spot you press. Be different than Kansas City, who likes to control possession out of the back line. Toronto wants it to come out of the midfield. Really try to shut that down tonight, and I think Toronto will have problems finding a plan B. They'll have to get more direct. They'll have to play a little more over the top, and they'll have to play down the wing with Morrow and Auro getting wide and trying to put in crosses. And, again, I'll take my chances there as opposed to Delgado and Bradley dictating the way this game is played.
And, because of all of this, I think that you're seeing a lot of folks thinking that both teams are going to cancel each other out and that the draw seems to be the option here for a lot of folks.
Well, we will get into that after a break, and we'll make our predictions for tonight. And we'll open the envelopes from Doug and Jarrett, get their predictions, and we'll give you ours right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky and Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. It's prediction time. Atlanta United hosting Toronto FC tonight at the Benz.
Check.
The really good boy Turner, the Red Fox Lab, just donated some tickets as well for the coaches over at Soccer in the Streets. So thank you, Turner, and also thank you to Michelle, Turner's mom, for being part of that. 'Cause I don't know if Turner's allowed at the Benz. I don't know if Turner has the season tickets.
Wow. I mean, it'd be cool if he did.
It'd be pretty cool. I'd be all for it. I would be absolutely all for that. But thank you, and we'll make sure they get to
if
a
Turner's ever looking for a date, you think Gwen would want to go?
Gwen's kind of weird about meeting other dogs, so I'm going to say no. She gets a little skittish at times.
Yes,
scared at times.
And she's also very skittish when the blonde guy comes over.
I mean, can you really blame her?
No, actually, I can't.
Just saying. But let's get to predictions. Let's see what the envelopes say. We'll start with Jarrett. 1-1 draw. Jarrett with a 1-1. Okay. No details. He didn't write any more on the sheet. So 1-1 draw.
Just like 4 words.
Yeah. Okay. Jarrett is at 1-1. Doug. Let's open the envelope. Let's see where Doug's at. He says...
Well, he said that they were going to win. He teased him.
2-1 Atlanta from Doug. No details, just 2-1. Doug might be teeing off right about now. So,
and good on him. But yeah, Doug teased that it was going to be an Atlanta win, but he didn't give any details. And then when he just reads the score, there's still no details. So,
okay. So we have a 1-1 and we have a 2-1 on the board. I assume you're going to go ahead and take a 2-1.
No, actually, I was going to go 1-1.
Wow. Okay, you're going to go 1-1. Explain.
Yep. I just think that with schedule compression, all that stuff, it's a lot of games in a short period of time. And I think that with not having Josie Altidore, it's going to kind of pin things toward Pozuelo. And I think that your supply line segment that we had before the commercial break he's going to have an opportunity. It might be Jordan Hamilton that gets the goal, by the way, for Toronto because of the supply lines being cut off. But I think that PT gets one, and I think that Jordan Hamilton gets one, and I think it's a 1-1 draw.
Toronto has won 3 of their last 6. But one thing that jumps out to me in this one is, okay, they got a clean sheet against Orlando on the weekend. They had a clean sheet against NYC at the end of March when New York City didn't have a forward. That was before Hebert. Between those two, 2-2 draw at home to Chicago, 3-2 loss in Seattle, 4-3 come from behind home win over Minnesota, 2-1 loss at home to Portland. Not good.
No.
Not good. And the biggest numbers out of that, those 4 games, 2 goals conceded, 3 goals conceded, 3 goals conceded, 2 goals conceded. Drew Moore, the injury to Drew Moore, the calf injury is tough for Toronto to deal with. Chris Mavinga had a man-of-the-match performance against Orlando City. He's going to have a man-of-the-match performance tonight in Atlanta for Toronto to get another clean sheet. I don't think they do. I think Atlanta gets some goals here. I think you've unlocked things a little bit. I do think they get some goals. I think they get 2, and I don't think Toronto scores. I think Toronto struggles here, and I think it's 2-0 because I think Atlanta dominates possession. Toronto doesn't really have a response to that, and I don't think their defense holds up. I'm going to go 2-0 Atlanta. I feel pretty good about this one because of the absences for Toronto playing on short rest and just the fact that they haven't been great over the last month and really last 6 weeks.
Yeah. Jeremy York with a question, and the folks at Impact, if I could get my upper plate to work, they ask on a Wall Pass Wednesday, given all the multiple games upcoming for Atlanta in a short period of time, who's sitting on a yellow and or is in potential danger of an accumulation suspension? Also, how long before they drop off a player in MLS? Good luck on the call tonight. Enjoy the game.
Nobody is on the yellow card tightrope right now. I will pull up the official numbers as we speak, but nobody is 1 yellow away. So that's one good thing here. I think there's a couple guys maybe on 3 yellows, so they're 2 yellows away. When you go 5 matches without a yellow card, then you get 1 dropped off of your list. So it's a little hard to keep up with, and the league doesn't do a great job in keeping us up to date. It's something that I wish they could get just a little bit better about. It would just make things a little bit easier for all of us. And sometimes their game notes are not entirely accurate in this regard either when people have gotten a yellow card back due to good behavior. So nobody's there right now. I'm pulling it up. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez and Jeff Larentowicz are on 3, so they're 2 yellow cards away. That's it.
Ike Mann is saying that right now Toronto FC is the best team in the East, and it's going to be 2-2. That's what he's looking at.
I don't think they are the best team in the East right now. I don't. I think Philadelphia is better. I think DC is better. I think NYC, in the very short term, is a team to keep an eye on. Yeah. I think Toronto has had some really puzzling results, and I think a lot of it is down to their defense. I think Pozuelo's outstanding, and you don't want to let him get going. And I think you have to. It's a 2-pronged defense of him. It has to be when he gets on the ball, you have to close him down quickly, but you want to cut off the line to him, and that line from the last match was Delgado to him. You really have to control Delgado and Bradley. They cannot dictate the game. They cannot have about 200 passes between the two of them tonight. I think Toronto's a team that if you take the ball away from them and you keep it, they're going to flail around a little bit, kind of like we saw from Kansas City. They don't like to sit and defend. It's not what they want to do, and right now I don't think they have the pieces to do it. So let's see how this goes tonight. I think if Atlanta can cut those 2 off, then Pozuelo is less dangerous, and then without Josie Altidore, they're less likely to get goals. It's going to have to be another spectacular moment from an Osorio. Because that's what happened in Orlando. Orlando wasn't great, but they kept Toronto off the board until fairly late in the second half, and it was just an individual moment of brilliance from Jonathan Osorio.
Let's see. Shiva also believes that it's going to be a 2-2 draw, so that seems to be where people's heads are at. And there are 3 other matches tonight as well.
Yes, it's a busy night in the soccer universe. We talked about the Open Cup earlier. The other matches tonight in MLS, and if you have players you're considering for fantasy purposes, go ahead and keep these in mind. Columbus hosting LA Galaxy, Chicago hosting New England, Red Bulls hosting Montreal. Columbus 7:30 kick, the other two are 8 o'clock kicks. Looking at those real quick, we'll see how the Galaxy handle the travel. Columbus has been really struggling lately. I wonder if David Accam will be available and ready to jump straight in for the Crew. We do have an update. They had to give up $500,000 in allocation money and an international slot for David Accam. So it's a pretty good return for Philadelphia. Not the full return. That international slot's usually worth $150,000 to $250,000. So you're getting about $750,000 in assets all told. When you gave up 1.2, you got a year out of him. You've changed a little bit about the way you're playing, so things are different. You take what you can get, you move on. I think he's a good fit for Columbus, but I don't know if he jumps straight in. Keep an eye there. Chicago, New England. Chicago should take care of business here. They're coming off of some draws here lately, but I feel like they've got the pieces, and now Calvo makes them much more difficult, I think, to deal with defensively. I think Chicago can be a team to keep an eye on in the Eastern Conference with that addition, and I think it starts tonight with a win over New England because the Revs are the Revs.
Yes, and that's basically the best way that I can phrase it. With the Revs being the Revs, I'm like, nah. That's why for my fantasy team, and go to @JasonWright with a WAGEN on Twitter or the Facebook page, Jason Wright Agency. Join the Fantasy League, and if you haven't done it, because it's cool and you get to make fun of me on a regular basis. But I actually have, because of the 2 home matches this week for Chicago, I actually have a decent amount of Chicago players on my roster, thinking that it's going to start tonight with a win over New England.
Yeah, it's a good discussion because I think the Fire with these 2 home games and the pieces they've stacked, they could be a team to keep an eye on here. The final one of the night was the Red Bulls hosting Montreal. Nacho Piatti, Bakary Sagna did not make the trip. There was a little bit of touch and go that Nacho might be available for this one. He ultimately did not travel. Red Bulls, I think, stick with their 3-3-3-1, and I think Montreal just continues to struggle offensively without Piatti. Now the question is, defensively, Montreal's generally been pretty good. Red Bulls are not a team that are going to build up a whole bunch of play and create a whole bunch of chances if Montreal decides to sit back. I don't know how this one plays out because Montreal has generally been very conservative in their attack without Piatti. That makes the Red Bulls press difficult to activate because Montreal is allergic to the ball. So can the Red Bulls flip the script, have some possession, create some chances from the run of play? They struggled to do that. Now, Chris Armas did say yesterday that Kaku has been training really well, and he's been great and all the wonderful things. I don't know if it's actually true or not. I don't. This feels like it could be a scoreless draw to me.
Yeah, and I look at the Red Bulls and I look at that 3-3-3-1. I'm thinking, okay, Montreal, sound defensively. We've seen what they've been able to do with Remy Gard, and then it's. I think they cancel each other out. I think it's a goalless draw, and it is not exciting television. I think that Chicago and New England will be far more exciting television just because of how bad New England is and how Chicago could take advantage of it.
All right, we're going to take our final break. Get your final Wall Pass Wednesday thoughts in. Get your final tweets in @SoccerDownHere. Eichmann has already come back at me. We'll talk to Eichmann in just a minute, right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Final segment, Soccer Down here, May 8th, Wall Pass Wednesday, Match Day Wednesday, Atlanta and Toronto tonight from the Benz. I mean, I guess this segment is kind of turned into like an encore at a concert. You never quite know what you're going to get. You know, it might be a long segment with a whole bunch of stuff. It could be a really short one. There could be some hits played. You might hear a cover.
Uh-huh.
You never really
Depends on
know.
how loudly the crowd cheers.
Well, no. It's not like that because the band will do what the band's going to do. We're not asking for the crowd to cheer loudly. We are saying that this could go anywhere because that's what happens in the final segment. And we're going to start, before we get into the questions that are left, we're going to start with our Atlanta brothers in Argentina. Club Atlético Atlanta. Yes, there is such a thing. They have been promoted to the second division for the first time in 7 years. The article at their website said, Un grito de corazón, Atlanta es nacional. They've played in the regional third division since that time. It's the second division's national. The third divisions are regional. They're going to finish in the top 4 to get promoted and move up. So they have never, I think, from my research, I think they have never played in the top flight in Argentina. They're one of the neighborhood clubs, which is very common. They never, really made that jump into one of the elites, but thousands of people celebrating in the streets in their neighborhood after getting promoted. So, felicidades, Club Atlético Atlanta. Los Bohemios, the Bohemians, because they had to bounce around from different ground to ground in the early days, so they were called the Bohemians. Los Bohemios are back in the second division.
Daniel Price thinks Atlanta surprises us tonight with a decisive 4-0 win. We come out strong in good form and completely shut down Toronto's offense.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I think they can shut down Toronto's offense because I think Toronto's not the same team without Josie Altidore. And I think defensively, Toronto has some frailties, as witnessed by all the goals they've given up over the last 5-6 weeks. I think Atlanta can take advantage. Now, you need to see that calm, composed performance that you saw in Kansas City, and somebody's going to have to step up and give you what Ezequiel Barco has given you. Whether it's one person doing it, just a straight-up replacement doing it, whether it's some different roles changing a little bit, and more touches for Pitti, more touches for Gressel, changing the way the team flows a little bit. That's going to be the biggest question, but I feel like Atlanta's coming in with a lot of confidence, and I feel like Toronto is not, even after the win against Orlando, because it wasn't as easy as the scoreline made it look.
Mr. Green at 919_Falcoholic is predicting a 2-1 Atlanta United win. PT in the 33rd, PK for Toronto in the 49th. Tito wins it in stoppage time. And, by the way, don't forget to go to the Bailey Daily Poll at jbailey86 and let everybody know what you think when it comes to the matchup on hand. And I will get the up-to-date results here in just a second.
Yeah, thanks to Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates for supporting the predictions and the Bailey Daily Poll.
Atlanta United wins by a goal, has a majority opinion, 55%. Draw is in second place at 22%. And Atlanta United wins by 2 or more goals at 16%. Atlanta loses. 7% of you think Atlanta's going to lose tonight.
Don't forget over at prizepicks.com too. MyPrizePicks.com. You can download the iOS app. Use SDH as a code when you sign up. You'll get 25% of your initial deposit matched. You'll also get a free 2-pick play for $25. MLS options on the board tonight. Joseph Martinez is 7 points, and you're picking the over-under on that. That's essentially a goal and some shots, and he's going to match that number. Alejandro Pozuelo at 5, Jonathan Osorio at 5, Zlatan Ibrahimovic at 11 tonight in Columbus.
Under.
Jossie Zardes at 2.5. If he gets an assist, he's above that. If he gets a goal, he's way above that. If he gets 3 shots, he's above that. CJ Sapong at 3 tonight for Chicago against New England. Nemanja Nikolic at 4. Daniel Royer for the Red Bulls, 4.5. Safir Taider for Montreal at 4. You've got 10 different picks on the board for Prize Picks tonight. Sign up using the code SDH, get your match, and see if you can make some money. There's a couple I like there. I like Zlatan as an under, and I like Sapong as an over are the two that jump out to me immediately.
Then for me, it was the ones that were with Red Bulls and Montreal as unders, going by your goalless draw idea.
Yeah, and remember the way the points work out there, it's a goal is 5 points, an assist is 3 points, a shot is 1, a shot on goal is 1, yellow card -1, red card -2. So it's pretty simple. And the way Prize Picks works, you can also pair it with NBA picks tonight, with baseball picks tonight, with hockey picks tonight. You can go 2 picks, 3 picks, 4 picks. The more that you go, and if you get them all right, the more you win. So the riskier you feel, have at it. But those are your picks tonight, and you're just picking over-unders on those numbers. It's a pretty easy way to do daily fantasy. So go check out myprizepicks.com and use SDH as your startup code.
Did we talk about Bello?
Bello had surgery, according to his own Instagram, and I believe his Instagram is a valid source. So, yes, Bello had surgery. Hopefully this will repair the issues he's been having with groin adductor really since last year. And young player, you're not going to risk anything. You get this taken care of as soon as possible so he can get back to full fitness and be part of the squad in the second half of the season. He was looked at as I believe as a starter day one. Going to rotate, get some time off from time to time, but I think he was looked at as the important guy because of the fact that he started in Costa Rica. Hasn't been able to do it because of the injuries. He was getting back into the team, and then he got hurt again and has to have the surgery. So George Bello will be back in a while, but all best wishes with him. Everything went well according to Bello's Instagram.
And trying to think about what else is going on tonight. Reminder, Open Cup is available on ESPN Plus.
Well, we had a few more tweets. Eichmann was coming at me.
We do? Eichmann. Go for it.
Eichmann said, Toronto's beaten NYC 4-0 and Philly 3-1 this season. Most points per game, most goals in the East. 4 points out of first with 3 games in hand. Best in the East so far. The reason I am tamping that down just a little bit is because of this. That NYC win was back when they didn't have a forward on March 29th. And they've looked different since then. Toronto beat Philly in week 1. Philadelphia is a much better team now. Toronto beat New England 3-2 in week 2. They beat NYC 4-0 in week 3 in their third match. So you have 2 of your 3 wins that Eichmann is citing as Toronto being the best in the East. Now, the numbers are there. They're good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're garbage. I'm not saying they're Calvo. I'm not saying they are Adrian Heath thinking of Calvo and putting him on the track.
Minnesota Cal.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that. I'm saying that they're not quite as good as you might think, because since that NYC game, home draw to Chicago 2-2, road loss to Seattle 3-2, home win over Minnesota 4-3 that you had to come back in, home loss to Portland 2-1, away win in Orlando 2-0. It's been very up and down since those first 3 wins. Since those first 3 wins, I mean, you've won 2 of 5. So I think they're good, but I think these injuries in the back, that the Drew Moore one, you hoped he'd be back to full fitness this year. It's a calf. It just keeps giving him problems. You needed to go get a center back. You couldn't get the deal done on Omar Gonzalez, and they decided to stand pat. We'll see if that was the right move, because for Toronto, they're here at the Benz tonight. They go to Philly on the weekend. They go to D.C. next week in midweek. Toronto's place in the Eastern Conference could look really different by this time next week. Yep. So we'll see. I think we'll see tonight how strong Toronto really is, but I'm not as convinced as others. I don't think they're bad. I think they will be in the top half of the conference as we get into the playoff picture, but I don't know if currently they're the best team in the East. I don't think they are.
Jim Lepp is saying 0-0. Hope I'm very wrong, but not seeing where the offensive spark comes from.
Feeding Joseph. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is in improving the service to him. You saw more of that in the last match. You do need somebody to give you what Barco's been giving you. And if it's Pitti, okay. If it's Tito doing it in a different way, okay. If it's Gressel getting more touches and more involved, okay. We've seen that from him before. If it's Justin Merrim, if it's Dion Pereira, if it's somebody else, you're talking about 80 to 90 touches. You're talking about 4 or 5 chances being created and some shots on goal that you need to replace. Is that a one-man job? Does it get spread around? That's the question I have coming into this, is who will give you what Barco's been giving you in recent weeks? The pieces are there to do it. It's just 2 steps up. That's the question.
Let's see what else is on the table. Are there any tweets that I missed?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So we are going to be, I think we're going to be ground-based this afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick walk and talk today because it's kind of hectic. I'm on 92.9 The Game with the midday show with Andy and Randy at 1:20. And then we have stoppage time at 2 o'clock from the studios downstairs on Facebook Live, so facebook.com/929thegame. And then heading straight over to the Gulch. And we'll be talking with you guys on the Soccer Down Here Twitter, at Soccer Down Here, to get you updated on the early scene at the Gulch, which I think it'll be a late arriving crowd. Midweek games typically are. So we'll have a quick one for you there, and then I'll be crashing in with Dukes and Bell because they are broadcasting live from the Gulch for their show from 2 to 6:30. And then we're on for the Five Stripes Countdown. 6:30, kickoff will be just after 7 o'clock. Full-time report will be on for an hour after the final whistle, all on 92.9 The Game, all on the radio.com app, all on the Atlanta United app. It's a busy, busy day and night.
So you're saying it's a busy day?
A little bit, yes.
And then you got Open Cup you got to have your head on a swivel about. You got the other matches in MLS you got to keep your eye on.
Yeah, the full-time report will be full.
Yes, it will be an extra large full-time report.
Yes, it will be definitely large. And as Mike said, look, I can already predict that you're going to have folks tweet like, "Oh, look, there's nobody there." When you're going to have a lot of people there. You're going to have more people there than any other match in Major League Soccer this week. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. It's a Wednesday night. It's at 7 o'clock. It's an early kick. It's going to happen. It's going to be a late arriving crowd. That doesn't affect how loud you are if you're in the building. If you are going tonight, you have to make more noise. You have to be louder. You have to give this team that boost. As Mike said, the players mention it consistently. They do feed off of that energy. Give them that energy tonight. And these are the matches where, I think midweek games you get some crazy things that happen because you got teams on short rest. You've got just different weird things that seem to pop up on a Wednesday. A lot of memorable things happen in midweek matches. It's one that if you can make it out. There are tickets that are available for pretty good deals right now. So if you haven't been out to a game or you haven't been in a while, it's a good one to try to make some time for. I think it'll be a good match as well. I think it's two teams that will be in the mix in the Eastern Conference at the end of the season in the postseason. Two teams that have questions about each of them, and two teams that should put on a good performance tonight at the Bend. So grab a ticket if you can. If you have tickets and can't make it, try to find somebody to share those with. Share the wealth. Get some people in the building. And regardless of how many people are in the building tonight, and I think it'll still be a really good crowd, regardless, make some noise if you're there. Make some noise if you're not there. If you're listening to Mike and I on the radio, you can scream in your car. You can scream at home. If you're watching on Fox Sports Southeast with Kevin Egan, with Dan Gargan, with Jillian Sakovitz, make some noise, share some pictures,
make some noise,
get involved in the conversation, and support this team in a night where I think your support can go a long way to helping them get a big result. We'll be back tomorrow to recap everything on an Overreaction Thursday edition of the show, 9 a.m. on the SDH app, on soccerdownhere.net, and on Spreaker. Until then, or really for me until about 1:20 when I start talking even more on other outlets. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata.